Now look, dear one, it's a story. There's things about the story. There's too many miracles in it to be the sort of reality we know of in everyday life. Don't get me wrong, we had some astonishing synchronicities by the grace and loving kindness of God. But we're not aware of it. We just think, oh, that was good. Thank goodness I met so-and-so. She's changed my life. How lovely. You know, we don't really, if you like, put all the thought into and appreciation and ramification and implication of the things that happen to us. We're too busy living or just experiencing, and we're children, you see. And I don't mean that the first set of commandments were perfect. I mean, the story is written by people. Nothing is any more than can be appreciated by whatever state man is in. In other words, what's given to the hearer is majorly affected by the ability or the quality or who the hearer is. They see through their glasses. They hear with their ears. They notice what they are sensitive to, and they have all the confusion of inconsistency that the child has, and not knowing, and just experiential thought rather than some sort of pure spiritual meditation upon a topic or a realization or an understanding. So even the blueprint, if you like, the Ten Commandments that we felt we've always known, well, if you're in sort of the semi-Christian world, of what the Ten Commandments were: don't steal, don't commit adultery, you know, honor thy father and mother, and don't blaspheme, and that even this was not, in some sense, perfect as, if you like, would be sent by God, but was the deep catalyst that would transform, well, the people that were grateful for being rescued, for the experience they're getting. But no, they see the experience as strangely a deprivation of the slavery that they had before. They were enslaved, but now we're at risk of the elements and savage peoples, and we're eternally wandering. We don't have the peace of home and establishment, and you know, half the time they're longing to be back in Egypt. It's becoming rosy in their mind compared to the daily slog or monotony of wandering in the wilderness for 40 years. And nothing really happens till that generation dies out. And their children have seen the wilderness as normal. And if you like, they're used to discomfort and uncertainty and travel instead of establishment and But it's them that go into the promised land, and they've known nothing else but being in the wilderness, and well, they should find that they appreciate the difference when they are established there. It's a land of milk and honey. You see, the whole thing is a story, and it's to be understood Gnostically, which the Alexandrian Jewish people of, I don't know, something like the 1st century AD, Common Era, as it's now secularly referred to, they had a feel for it, that perhaps it was a story, not a history. Incredibly valuable story because, well, it's pure wisdom, if you can find it and track it down. And everybody sees it differently. Yes, that's true. You know, there's amazing Gnostic explanations for things that are a bit like conspiracy theory, you know. I mean, is it just civilization that's been hidden, or was it a previous civilization, or, goodness, was it aliens, you know, people from outer space, and you know, the freedom of the thought on the issue can, well, just the wildness of the imagination. And sometimes that wildness hits exactly on the truth, of course. And you think, wow, so-and-so was actually right. You know, you can live as a vegan. It's far from being damaging to your health and it's going to kill you. It's a blessing, and you don't get anything like the illnesses that you would have got on the quotes normal diet that you were used to before. You know, on the other hand, you could find, oh, well, he did so-and-so, he had nothing but carrot juice, and he died. What? Well, carrot juice is very good, but not only carrot juice. No, I suppose not. We're kids, you see. And kids have to receive stories, and the stories, well, they do wonders, don't they? They bring up kids into some sort of ability to cope with the world that they're moving into as they grow up. Wow. And the story writers, well, they're a funny lot, aren't they? Scribes and story writers, and Grandad who tells really, have you got a story, Grandad? Oh yes, okay. I mean, I've not really known such a person, although my mum was a bit like it in that she would come up with being a very bright individual, very intelligent, not trained academically, but did go to grammar school because she was so bright. Back in the dark ages, so to speak, when very few of the poor went to grammar school, only the really outstanding. Her memory was really outstanding, and her vigour for life was quite extreme. And that, coupled with her good looks, meant that she was a bit unusual, attractive soul. But could be a menace, of course, because she's still a child, same as you and me. Thank you, Heavenly Dad. Yeah, so where I started here, this recording, not that the 10 Commandments that we had what supposedly were the original group of commandments given by God, you see, are the actual 10 commandments that were really practiced and given. But it's kept in the story as those that are serious for God will pick up on, the first 10 as we suppose them to be. That you don't covet something that belongs to someone else. You don't commit adultery in the, two ways. In the literal sense of, sexual infidelity, but in the spiritual sense too of being disloyal to God. And the view of God might be still more of a king, the ruler of your life. You obey. But perhaps holding close to that will bring you much faster to a spiritual relationship with him, where you love him for his kindness and goodness. That there's something fundamental about the change in you, that these precepts, the 10, that we always thought were the 10 commandments, can bring about if you have the inclination for such. It's still there. It's not there perfectly, it's in story form, and it's still a king type God. But when you say to this people, or when Jesus does in the story, so to speak, he's asked, what's the greatest principle, precept, commandment of all? Oh, it's to love the Lord your God. I didn't use the word love in the 10 commandments. Neither version talks about love. It talks about putting God first. It's sort of skates over the appearance and presents the appearance. But the appearance is a lot. It indicates something of what might be the reality if you have a heart that starts to appreciate God. So that you want a God to love, not just obey. It puts you in the right direction. It doesn't take you there, the 10 commandments, precepts. And the actual commandments that they receive, the 10 of chapter 34, the second lot after breaking the first. Well, it's still in the same order. It gets you there in the end, perhaps. Or get some people there. It will continue to bring a harvest. Well, that's rather wonderful, isn't it? You can simply be going through the motions, but the fact that you do starts to change who you are. The feasts, the meeting unites us. The feasts remind us. In particular, of course, the feast of celebrating being rescued from Egypt into the promised land. Something fundamental in change, whole way of life, to move from slavery to freedom. And of course, perhaps that puts you on track to be sensitive to moving from obedience to love. And so Jesus, in the Jesus story, is to the point. The foundation principle is to love God with all your heart, soul, mind and strength. the second's like unto it. To love your neighbour as yourself. It's still partial, isn't it? Why neighbour and not the person that you don't know, the person who's further away? And he sort of covers that, doesn't he, with, what is a neighbour? Be a neighbour to the stranger when he really needs you. You can't do it all the time. You're not eternally making meals for the man next door because you know he's lonely and that. But you can, oh, he's upset. What can I do? I'll take him out for a cup of tea. We'll have a walk around the lake. Well, if you're not too advanced, the Ten Commandments that you've received have just said, look, don't flirt with the enemy. You'll end up with their ways and get corrupted. You're not strong enough to do that. Do you see? But if you are advanced, like Jesus presents in the story, yes, he can be accused of mixing with sinners. But he does it in a very beautiful way. He rescues them. And they're a very peculiar group of, quotes, sinners, people that are not keeping the legality of the Ten Commandments that you are supposed to be following. But in a most earnest, fundamental way of those that have ears to hear, please come to rescue them. It's a beautiful story, and it's to achieve a beautiful adult life of abundance, the life eternal, the kingdom of heaven within you. So we don't hold in contempt the Ten Commandments that were not kept. On the contrary, we're much occupied with such, for they much more efficiently get us closer to God than the 10 rules that were finally given. And somewhere in this ignorance of childhood and religion and so on, we've got the whole thing confused, and people are confronted with a set of rules, the Ten Commandments, that there's no way they're going to keep them. The vast majority. Goodness, the majority don't even keep the Ten Commandments that were finally given and written and received. Well, that's how it appears in the school. But the school is designed to bring you to adult life, thanks to the goodness and grace, loving kindness of our Heavenly Dad. Love you, Heavenly Dad. Thank you, Dad.